Welcome back. In past years, we've seen a massive growth in veganism as more people lean towards the healthy living lifestyle. We've also seen a lot of meat alternatives hitting the market, including plant-based meatballs and chicken burgers. Well, the Department of Agriculture says this kind of labeling is incorrect and it's imposed a ban. The South African Meat Processors Association has welcomed the decision, as it says using meat terms on vegan products is actually misleading. But of course, companies selling these products disagree. To speak more on this, I'm joined by Peter Gordon, the Chief Executive Officer of the South African Meat Processors Association. A very good morning to you, Peter, and thank you so much for joining us. So, I mean, obviously people that are selling these kinds of products with what you guys call misleading labels, will feel aggrieved because it's essentially money being taken from them.
Good morning, everybody, and good morning to the ENCA listeners, and thank you for having Sampa. The situation is that there are existing labelling legislation, and there is a number of different pieces of legislation that govern how you can describe products in labels and what names you can give them. And all that is happening is that the Department of Agriculture is now enforcing existing legislation, which the manufacturers of these meat analogues, as they're called, or non-meat products that approximate a meat product. These products are in breach of these regulations, and all the department is now doing is enforcing laws that have existed, and some of them have existed for many, many, many years. And so in many ways, one has to wonder why those organizations weren't aware of what legislation existed and simply abided by the laws that were in place at the time.
Okay, so how then, Peter, would you advise these brands that, of course, as you say, have been, essentially disobeying the laws that have been in place? How do you advise them to work around, the labeling issue when I would imagine there aren't a lot of, names you could throw out there that could be put on packaging?
I don't think Sampa is in a position to advise the non-meat industry how to label their products. What we can say, it's important that products are accurately and correctly labeled, they're not misleading, and that they hero the core ingredient. And I'll give you an example. If you, for example, have a product that is made from mushroom, and its primary ingredient is mushroom, and it's shaped like a burger patty, it cannot be called beef-like burger. And then there's a little strap line on the corner that says plant-based. It should be saying a mushroom burger or mushroom patty. And I think that's very important, that the core ingredient is the hero and the core of the name. And what we've seen coming into the market is the tendency to call things beef-like, lamb-like, chicken-like, fish-like, and that's just misleading. There's no chicken, fish, or beef in any of these products. They're 100% vegetarian, and therefore they should be called and hero the ingredient, the core ingredient. Similarly, you can't call something a vegan boerewors, because boerewors is a very regulated name in South Africa. And in fact, there's a very specific regulation, R2718, that governs the compositional requirements of something named boerewors. So there are certain names that are completely outside of the use of the non-meat industry, and they're exclusively for the use of the meat industry. And there are others that just need to be described more accurately. And there are many, many examples in a variety of different directions. But I think the key is make sure that your label is not misleading. And it cannot be named after an existing meat product, like boerewors, a schnitzel, a bratwurst. Those names are exclusively the domain of the meat industry. And there's been a ruling in France this week, in fact, supporting exactly the same legislation, that meat names cannot be used in non-meat products. So it's not just a South African situation.
Yeah. We're running out of time, Peter, but just very quickly, put the people that are bringing these products, onto the shelves, putting these products onto the shelves. Let's talk. You're talking now to somebody who's just an ordinary consumer, an ordinary customer who's like saying, I mean, but come on, Peter, you guys are just making a big deal out of nothing. All it requires is for somebody to take that product and read, as opposed to just taking and throwing into the trolley and moving ahead and only noticing once they're at home and have paid for it that, oh, no, wait, this is not actually, it's not a meat product. It's a meat-like product. What then do you say to that person?
I think in terms of the DALID regulation, that is a regulation made by DALID. and they will have to make the decision as the regulator and as to how long they're going to give the industry to correct its labels. That's not for SAMPA to comment on. And I think the industry needs to go and negotiate with DALID, and I know there are discussions being held at the moment between DALID and the industry, and I'm sure that there'll be some middle ground found.
All right, Peter, we'll leave it there with you. Thank you so much for joining us. That was Peter Gordon, the CEO of the South African Meat Processors Association. I mean, have you ever taken a product and not looked at it, and then you realize later that, oh, wait, no, a little misleading. It's not really what I was looking for.
Yeah, I have, but it's always different when it comes to food, isn't it?
Yeah.
I have, but I still consume it.
I mean, hey, you paid for it. And in these tough economic times, if you're going to take something and you're going to put money for it, before you bring it back, you might as well just and then sometimes you just don't want to take it back because, you don't want to have that back and forth and you just eat it anyway. Yeah, no, guys, yes, there are regulations and those that need to be adhering to them need to adhere to them. But I still advise, read what you take because sometimes you even miss the sell-by date, the best before. Yeah, so read what you take off the shelves, guys. It's really important.